I took an interest in personal finance at a pretty young age. I grew up watching the Dave Ramseys, Graham Steffens, and the Money Guys show, and each one of them has their own special twist and method to the madness that they use for personal finance. But one of the things that remains consistent between those three and a lot of other people in the personal finance space is to avoid lifestyle inflation. This is a pretty big issue for people just getting into managing their own finances, but what does it really mean? Lifestyle inflation basically means as your income rises, so does the cost of your living. And many things can affect your cost of living, whether that be moving into a nicer apartment, wearing fancier clothes, or driving a faster car. Financial gurus will tell you to avoid lifestyle inflation like it's the Black Plague. And instead of spending more money on your lifestyle, instead, if you get a pay increase, put most, if not all of that extra cash into savings and investments. Which on the surface level seems fantastic, right? But why isn't everybody doing that? And why is it harder than it might seem? I want to take you guys through a personal anecdote to kind of explain why that might be. I graduated college in 2023. But while I was going to school, I also worked part-time at varying jobs throughout my 3 years there. And it's probably a safe assumption to say I made around $30,000 a year working part-time while I went to school. After you remove taxes, I'm left with somewhere between $20,000 to $25,000 a year to spend. So 18 and 19-year-old Kian was kind of a personal finance nut, and I didn't spend a lot of money and I saved most of my income. Like most broke college kids, I had a couple of roommates to share my rent expense with, and so my rent was super low, and I ate ramen noodles for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and so my grocery bill was also really low. And beer and boxed wine at the local liquor store is pretty cheap, and so I got off pretty good. So during my college years, I was making $20,000 to $25,000 a year. My cost of living was really, really low, and so I was able to save 80-90% of my income every single year. And while all this was going on, I was thinking in my head, right, I can't wait to graduate, and once I get an actual job that pays double or even triple what I'm making right now, I'll still be able to save 80-90% of that income and I'll be rich, right? I mean, all of these financial influencers are saying, don't increase your lifestyle just because you get a pay bump. And I was like, perfect, I'll eat ramen noodles and I'll get a roommate and I will just save all of my money, which sounds great in theory. So that's kind of what I did. I graduated in 2023. I had a job that started in a couple of months after my graduation. And so I packed up and I moved home with my parents. I figured I could save a bunch of money on groceries or rent and then just stockpile cash, invest it all, and have a huge head start in life. And it worked like a charm. I stayed at my parents' house for just under a year and I managed to max out my Roth IRA twice. I was contributing to my 401k. I built up an emergency fund and then I saved a boatload of money just ready for the day that I was going to move out. And when that day eventually came, I felt like I was ready. I saved up all of this money. I felt confident, ready to move out, get the things that I needed. I figured I'd only spend like a couple $1,000s and I'd be on my merry way. Boy, was I wrong. I just didn't kind of realize how expensive life actually was. And this would be my first time moving out by myself, and so I realized very quickly that I really had nothing to my name. My bed was old and smelled funny, my desk was falling apart, I didn't have any kitchen utensils or pots or pans, no bath towels, nothing like that. And so I went on a bit of a shopping spree. First up was a new bed, and this gave me a tough decision right off the bat because I could either go and buy a cheap, crappy bed for a little bit of money, I could buy something in the middle for a little bit more money, or I could buy a really nice bed that's gonna last me, a decade and be super, super comfortable. And there's trade-offs with everything, right? If I go with the super, super nice bed, then I'm gonna love it, but my bank account's gonna be hurting. Or I could go with the super, super cheap bed, and since I'm so young, I can save and invest the difference, and in the future, I'll have a heck of a lot more money. But keep in mind that at this point in my life, I really didn't spend a whole lot of money on myself. I lived off the bare essentials while I went to school, and I never really bought anything that I could really appreciate. And so I said, screw it, let's get the super nice bed. I'm gonna spend a third of my life in this thing anyway, and sleep is really important, and so why not ball out and get a super nice bed? And so that's what I did, and boom, there goes a couple $1,000s right down the drain. And this whole spending spree just kind of snowballed because I bought a bed and then I realized I didn't have any nightstands to go next to it. And then out in my living room, I got a couch gifted to me by my mom, but I realized I didn't have a TV to watch. And so I bought a TV, and then I needed a TV stand, and then a coffee table, and then a new desk, and the list goes on and on and on. And while I was purchasing all these things for my new apartment, in the back of my head, I was thinking, I just got a real job. I've been saving up the money for this, and I can afford it now. And so why not buy it? If I want it, I can afford it. Why not buy it? And that way of thinking is very complicated. On the one side, you've got the school of thought that's no lifestyle inflation. This is the financial guru side. Don't spend more money just because you have it. Instead, save all of it and invest it for the future. But on the other side, you have the YOLO school of thought. You only live once. And so why not be present, live in the moment, and enjoy your money because you have it? And it'd be very convenient if the world was black and white and I can tell you exactly which one you should pick, but the reality is that they're both right. There's positives to not increasing your lifestyle and just saving and investing for the future more. You're gonna be richer than you can possibly imagine if you do that. But then you have to think that if you're just saving and investing all of your money, what are you actually saving and investing for? There's gotta be a reason. And if you're just saving and investing to spend it later, then why not spend some of that money right now? But on the other hand, if you're spending all of your money right now, then there's nothing going to be left over when you really need it in the future. On top of that, if you go the no lifestyle inflation route, the financial guru route, you might end up like me, where year after year after year, you keep telling yourself, no, I'm going to save this money, I'm going to invest this money, I'm not going to spend it on myself. And then all of that just keeps building up inside of you. And then one day you're going to finally crack and be like, you know what, I want to spend my money. And that's where mistakes can happen. It's like if you just bottle up all of your anger inside of you, and then one day someone really pisses you off and you just blow up in their face and you really hurt that person. It's kind of the same thing, where if you just keep telling yourself no to buying things over and over and over again, then eventually you're gonna be like, you know what, I wanna buy it, and you're gonna waste more money than you would if you would just bought yourself a couple of things here or there. And so with all of that being said, I think the moral of the story comes down to one simple thing. As long as you are saving and investing enough that you will be fine in your retirement and you have all of that automated put away already, then whatever you want to do with your pay increases really doesn't matter at all. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that you want $1 million in retirement. And right now you make enough and are saving enough to have that $1 million by the time you turn whatever age you want to retire at. And so your goal is basically already met, it's just a matter of time. Then for each pay increase that you get, who am I to tell you that you can't spend every last penny of it? You already have met your goals, all that's gonna take is time. Then now that you're making more money, if you wanna save more and increase your goal to a higher amount, then that's great. But if you wanna go spend all of your money on fancy cars and clothes, then who cares? The rule that these financial gurus came up with, where you don't increase your lifestyle when you get a pay increase, is just complete bogus. I think the easiest way to think about it is set a financial goal, make sure you're gonna hit it, and then who the heck cares? This way you're able to live life now and enjoy your money in the present while still not sacrificing your money in the future, and you can live stress-free. Anyways, that's my 2 cents on the whole lifestyle inflation concept. If you guys have any opinions, toss them down in the comment section below. I really love reading them. But that's all I got for you guys today. I'll catch you guys in the next one, and peace out.